Hi, everyone, and welcome to Straight Talk with Sophia and One. Today is episode 17. It's being recorded on the 13th of July, 2023. The title that we're giving it is Fulfilling Your Calling While Remaining True to Self. And I'm going to ask our questioner to read the question, and then I will read One's response. So you can go ahead.
Thank you, Sophia. This is Lorraine here. Hi, everyone. My question is, I am one of those who have recently changed my life circumstances completely, compelled to find out who I am, develop self-love, and heal. This means that I left my marriage, my life in Germany, relocated back to the UK. I've stopped working. I've no social life. Everything has completely changed. I feel that I have achieved these goals. I feel grounded, balanced, and fully in love with life. And I'm infinitely grateful for everything I've experienced. As a year has now passed, I find myself content to be alone. Although I'm told my energies are important and I sense I should be out there and active. So how can it be that I'm sort of hiding, almost comfortable being a recluse, when all of my values are about being of service? So thank you and blessings for this amazing service.
Okay,
Back
you're
to you,
welcome.
Sophia.
Okay. So the answer is a long one, and it travels down a couple different avenues that I appreciate it, and I believe that everyone will. So just interrupt me as I go. I'll just start reading. We'll start with the general answer. The questioner now is at a sort of crossroads. This affects more than one aspect of life. Location is part of what propels the change, but not the only part. It is also decisions about where to hang your heart. It is also choices made about how to interact with the world at large, regardless of location. These are aspects of physical life. They have unique significance for light workers and light warriors. Choices in each arena impact ability and reach of the work. Each of you feels called to respond. You are approaching a full activation point. As it gets nearer and nearer, you change. Priorities, interests, and habits all shift in order to accommodate this new role. It is a role you'll sense a need to get ready for, even without specifically knowing why. This role that approaches you now is one of your primary reasons for choosing this life. It is not the only one, however, and here is where I'd like to begin. Life is chosen to experience, to learn, to expand your consciousness, and to serve another. Each of these actions involves and includes others. You are performing this dance as one. In order to achieve maximum satisfaction in each of these areas, it is recommended that you remain open to a wide cast of characters with whom you'll travel. This is to say that often you may find yourself feeling alone in a crowd, or as if you're the only person who understands what is going on, what is really going on. The people you are with are never a mistake. The choice to walk part of the journey together was made by both of you. There is purpose to the interaction. It may or may not be clear to you, yet you can be sure there is one. At some point, you will feel that it is time to separate. When this happens, it does so because one or both of you have either fulfilled your agreement or decided on another direction. This life is a free will zone. You all find yourselves with people who may or may not seem to fit with who you are becoming. Here is where you will need to make a decision, because every moment into and out of relationship is impactful to your journey. They will either support your original agenda together or end it. There is truth to the statement that tells you that all relationships are journeys and they all reach some sort of conclusion. The thing about committed relationships, such as marriage, is that they are long-lived or intended to be. The sheer length of them guarantees change in both partners. These changes may or may not be complementary. In a marriage between non-star seeds, this is true. In a marriage where one or both partners are star seeds, this is true as well. There is something to be said here, and it is being said so that the conversation remains real and on solid ground. The presence or absence of a starseed in a marriage does not indicate its impact or importance. Paths and purposes are equally valuable to the souls having them. Every aspect, every life fuels the intelligence, the mystery, and the expansion of creation itself.
That's so,
Go ahead.
Sophia, that's so wonderful. When I think, I mean, I left my marriage, and yeah, it's so true, and I'm so very, very grateful, because now I recognize the learning and the gifts that I have received from that other person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think to remain positive when things don't work out as we wish is the biggest gift that we can give to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've had 2 marriages in my life as well, and I know it's very, very painful to decide to leave it and to leave it and
Yeah.
and then to see what it was for, or see
That's it.
right to
There's
see that.
always the lag that's there, isn't it? You don't know at the time, but afterwards when it hits you, you think, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Even to the extent now that I think I've become a very different person.
Mm-hmm.
So if I went back into that relationship,
Mm-hmm.
now what would happen?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know?
Right, man. I know. I do know that. I know that feeling. It's a boy, that just kind of sears at your heart, doesn't it? Yeah,
Yes, exactly.
it
Yeah.
really does. Yeah.
Okie dokie.
All right. So he goes on again to speak more on this. He says, what we will explore next is responsibility for
Yeah.
and right. And he said, it, each in relationships, each person bears their share. In this way, when there's an ending or a break, you can be sure that both have contributed their part. Nothing occurs by chance or by accident. We refer here to adult relationships where equality of responsibility is possible. There are 2 life paths having input into the relationship or the partnering. In every case, some of the journey is traveled together, yet the impact of that shared journey is felt differently by each person. In a partnership, there is a combination of silent and verbal contribution and communication. Both types matter and both contribute to the length and success of the partnership. There's a question to be considered that takes into account an idea that at least one of the partners is a star seed. As has been discussed, star seeds are here at this time to enact and initiate the Great Awakening. This part of their journey will become obvious to them at some point, and when it does, it will alter how they see their current life. It's a complicated question due to the specificity of each different relationship and each life's purpose. We will attend to generalize. In a general sense, you starseeds have an exciting and confusing time in front of you. The realization of your calling will simultaneously inspire an urge to withdraw altogether and to fix everything and everyone all at once. And and I typed that in boldface because I thought that is exactly how it feels.
Yeah. But this is the core of this issue. Okay, I'm doing my own stuff, but I want to be helping everybody else,
Right,
including the person that I just left behind, who
right,
hasn't a clue what on earth has happened. You know?
right. I know. I
Oh, good.
know. I know. It was such a perfect, it was very perfectly put, I thought. Um, and he goes on to say, this, of course, will not be a feasible response. You will
Yeah.
find yourself, you will find yourself disliking or distancing from some who you've been close to, while also being drawn to a newly noticed cast of characters. This can
Yeah, and this is kind of where I'm wondering, because they haven't really come into my life.
right.
And even the ones in the past, even though I've kept in touch with them,
Hmm.
they've sort of gone dead on me, you know.
Hmm.
So all of this is contributing to what is going on here.
Hmm. Hmm. I hear you. Yeah, it's so confusing. There's social, as women, we I don't know, but I always feel like women always feel impulsed kind of to, you know, keep the contact out there, even if it's been
Yes,
months, reach out, hey, how's everything? Everything okay? And
exactly.
with other women specifically. And yeah, and I hear you. It's even to do that, even knowing that there is not much in common right now, but feeling
Yes.
a sense of loyal dedication, or what is it?
Well, just simply, I value and respect other people. We don't all have to be the same.
Right,
How boring would
right,
that be?
right.
And yet there's no, or hardly any, reciprocation. So again,
Hmm.
well,
Yeah,
all right.
yeah. So he goes on to say, this can create an urge to change everything, and many of you do. Endings occur in rapid succession, which eventually lead to alternative beginnings.
Yeah.
And he goes on to say that none of these are right and none of these are wrong. They're just different ways to respond to your inner feelings about, I have to make a change.
Yeah.
He's, he said it will become trial and error period where you'll wear many hats before settling on one that fits just right.
Mm,
And which one does will depend on your journey and your chosen speed of accomplishment, which I thought was an interesting way to put it. I'm not sure exactly what he meant by that. Um, I
that's,
think
you mean what is behind accomplishment? Because
the speed of
yes.
chosen speed of accomplishment. And I almost felt when he said that, I felt like, were we going to choose the highway or were we going to take the
Yeah.
scenic route,
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that's really, you're going to get there either way, right? But
Mm,
yeah, yeah. And that depends on the person. Um,
yeah.
he said, in every case, it is far better to honor each and every relationship that you've held, regardless of how closely they align to your new direction. For these have been parts of your life that got you to where you are today, which is an awakened star seed.
Yeah. Yes.
And that was, yeah, that's true. Things do not need to and are not meant to continue forever in the same manner in order to be valuable. Life moves on, and so do relationships. Once forged, a connection never ends.
Mm-hmm.
And this is true regardless of whether or not the relationship continues.
Yeah.
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 So I liked that.
Yeah, and that's so I feel that very, very strongly. In fact, somebody I met many years ago, I I was dating somebody, and I said, so are you finishing the relationship?
Hmm.
And he took a pause, and then he said, I'm not sure you finish a relationship. Once you have one, it exists. And
It
I thought,
exists.
what wise words.
Right. That you're right. Yeah. Very,
Yeah.
very well put. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then okay, so this is a little switch, and this is, I like this part as well. He said, in a very practical and real world sense, you are never not remaining true to yourself, not in this life or in any other. What is a more precise way to put it is how to follow your life's calling while remaining true to your purely chosen version of self.
Yeah.
This is an ideal image, and it is the one you envisioned before incarnating.
Yeah. So how do I get to this?
So he goes on, and you'll see, he said, in every case, choices are made. These choices come from you.
Yeah.
This, yeah, right.
So I know. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I
Okay.
know that. Okay, okay.
Drive it home.
This choice could favor the imagined needs of your current personality slash ego self, or this choice could be heavily skewed towards a distant inner calling. Ideally, your life lived offers an adequate response to all aspects of self, ego self, and starseed self, for both are aspects of self with equal importance to your evolution.
Mm.
When you become cognizant of alternate paths or callings than those you've followed thus far, what will help you is to consider the value equally of each person to which you have intertwined yourself. It is never helpful to throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Mm. Yeah, that's a profound statement.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Yeah.
Um, and then he says, what you will find in every case is that there is a whole and compassionate way to initiate a shift or an ending, and there is also a callous way. In each case, the ending occurs and new directions emerge. In the first case, it happens gracefully and with an abundance of care. In the latter case, there will be baggage, and the transition will be less comfortable. Both accomplish a change in direction, yet differently. What becomes of your relationship in either case is that it continues. You are literally two ends of a connection stick that has been forged in this life, and that connection remains.
Yeah.
He said, and this notion that connections are eternal will explain for you why some people feel familiar to you while others don't.
Mm.
Right. I liked that. It's like, that's true.
Yes.
You know, if you ever meet somebody and you like, man, I know you. I don't know
Yes,
why, but yeah. Yeah.
that's right. Is that what we would call our soul family then?
I think, I
Perhaps.
think, I don't know, because I've also heard that some of the more close bonds or connections are the ones we, our biological family, which many of us feel estranged from right now.
You're right.
Right. But it doesn't, I don't think that it equals to not knowing them. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
Like you
No,
might,
that's different. That's, yeah.
you could know them, but not feel like there's anything and you have anything in common right now,
You're
and
right.
at all. And actually the opposite,
Yeah.
the opposite of things in common.
Yeah.
So then he said this. So, in order to remain true to your core self, it will help you to ask yourself questions about your current direction, location, relationship, or work. And these are some of the questions. Does this serve or hinder my goal right now? Am I able while working here to fulfill my goal? Am I able while living here to fulfill my goal? Am I able while staying in this relationship to fulfill my goal? If you discover with this inquiry that the answer is no, then your next question will be, how can I extricate myself from this person, place, or work in the most seamless and compassionate way? These answers may not be immediate and they may change, yet by keeping these questions in the front of your mind, you will begin creating an ideal transition. Your goal as a starseed is always to help. This goal does not necessitate a constant involvement with others 24/7. In fact, it is work. And to be accomplished, you'll have to prepare for it. Centering is necessary. Solidity is paramount. More than any other work, this engages your core, and you will need fortitude and peace in order to bring it forth at the necessary time.
Yeah.
It is time to say to the questioner and anyone hearing or reading these words that you were chosen because of your light. This work you are doing is critical and it is demanding. All of you, and when he said all of you, he really meant all parts of you. He didn't mean the collective. He meant all parts of you will be engaged once you're activated.
Okay.
Your questions are important and they're not taken lightly. It is evidence of the seriousness with which you chose this incarnation that you ask them at all. You cannot make a wrong decision.
Yes. Yeah, that resonates very strongly.
Does it? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Without being aware of,
Of
exactly what it was
right,
that
right.
I signed up for, but I know
Right.
it's very, very important.
There's
I
something,
acknowledge
right?
that,
I know
which is
it's
kind of wacky.
it is. It is. That's when faith comes in. There's something that
I,
right.
I don't know what I'm doing, but it's important.
And it's very important. So I'm going to keep doing it or thinking it. I'm doing it anyway, right?
Being,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. He says all directions chosen lead you to fulfillment. The simultaneous nature of that fulfillment can lead to confusion, as is, I want to be alone right now, and that feels right for me, yet is that what I'm supposed to be doing? I love that. I was like, wow, that is exactly it.
Yeah.
There is no supposed to or no required behavior. You have embarked on a journey towards ascension, and your light is exactly where it is needed. Trust your inner nudges. You will not steer yourself wrong. There
Yeah.
are and then he says there are course corrections possible every step of the way.
Mm-hmm.
And then the rest of this is more specifically geared to you. So it starts with the questioner has known of her calling always. It is the reason for her feeling different for most of her life. This was not a bad different, yet she knew there was something not in common with the majority of those with whom she engaged. Light workers and starseeds everywhere know this feeling. What is important to note here is that different does not imply better or smarter or more evolved. And I love this next part. He said, for you gaze upon a sea of others, all whom represent a phase of you, a moment of you, a decision of yours. You are mirrors for each other in some fashion, all of you, in every case, on earth now.
Isn't that so beautiful, Sophia?
Hmm.
That is a beautiful picture, a beautiful image for
Mm-hmm.
this oneness that we're all aware of,
Mm-hmm.
and somehow seems elusive from time to time. Beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes you can feel it, and sometimes you can feel so separate from it, and you go, "How could that? How could that be?"
Right.
And then he goes on to say that what emerges from this realization, no, what emerges once this realization is complete, is pure love.
Yeah.
And he said there can be no lack of acceptance with agape.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. And this includes self-acceptance. It is
Yeah.
imperative, yeah, and it's imperative that you forgive yourself.
Yeah.
for every action and perceived transgression.
Mm.
He says, once you do, you will find yourself looking out with love's eyes only. These are the eyes of an ascended one, the eyes of a master. Your reason for arriving here now, dear questioner, is so that you will assist this race in its evolution. You know how to do this because you have done so in other now moments. You require preparation in order to engage fully all that you know. This demands solitude and centering. Much like an athlete stretches and hydrates before a competition, you too are prepping. The fact that you don't yet remember what it is exactly that you're prepping for doesn't change that fact. This is exactly what you just said. When it is when it is time, you'll know. He does say that, so that's good. As you move
Yeah.
through, I'm sorry, were you going to say something?
No, I was, yes, I'm acknowledge. I've got sort of tears in my eyes, and I'm in awe, and it's just it's very, very comforting to hear this, and
Yeah.
to get a degree of confirmation that, yeah, everything, is perfect, as
Mm-hmm.
creator can only be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
With that, we can only be perfect, and
Mm-hmm.
yes.
Okay. There's more. He says, as you move through these coming days, pay close attention to inner callings. These will hold clues to where and what you will be engaged with next, and trust. And again, he says, when it is time, you will know. He says, there's one more part here for you. The questioner is an old soul who comes new to the earth plane. She has not often been human. Her purpose at this time involves an active role in humanity's awakening. She holds deep wells of knowing what is possible. And once she felt the stirring of these, she was motivated to move. Her move was necessary so that she would remember who she is and why she is here. In order to tap into the purity of knowledge she holds about an ascended being, she needed to extricate herself from what began to feel like bonds. Now, there is no blame in these bonds. She willingly took them on, yet she knew that in order to fulfill her calling, she needed more room. This
Yeah.
will, does that sound right?
Yeah, totally. And, and at the same time, it's surreal. I mean, we're still here in 3D, and
Mm-hmm.
as much as I'm aware of ascension and all that goes along with it, it's the phrase for me is between two worlds, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm very aware of me sort of being between two worlds now for many months,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and it's a very sort of strange place because there's one of the things I said was nothing ever before in my life has prepared me for this situation.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. So it becomes difficult to relate in the way we usually did, because you perceive a situation or a challenge and you think, okay, what's been around me, or what have I had to deal with that was similar?
Mm-hmm.
What can I reapply,
Mm-hmm.
And in this
Mm-hmm.
case, there's nothing.
No,
Nothing that we're aware of, consciously aware of, anyway.
no. But it's the way you described it just now is just, it's pure potential.
Yes, yeah,
And
yes.
that's why we're here to do this with that in front of us in a way we've never done it before. That's how it
Hmm.
feels. And that's so exciting, so confusing at the same time, but so
Yes,
exciting as well.
yeah.
So the last thing he had said, I'll just finish up. There's a couple paragraphs left. He said the last thing I had read was she knew that in order to fulfill her calling, she needed more room. And the next thing he says is, this will not always be the case as she fears it will be, but it was the case at the time of her leaving, and it remains true still today. There is a felt need to isolate, to center, and to ground.
Yeah.
Yeah. All of this in order to be more effective as a light source for the race. The desire to retreat from society is not born out of a distaste for humanity, although on the surface it can seem that way. It is born from a realization of the massive control mechanism in place on the planet.
Yeah.
And the effect that that has. The retreat impulse can be looked at as a time of shoring up, building strength, remembering your truth. In this way, you and all starseeds can feel better prepared for what comes next. Let it be said here that there is no way to douse your light or to hide it. It is too brilliant and too necessary to the evolution of the race and to the ascension. And I'll end it there.
Wow. My heart just goes out to everyone who's listening and who might listen to this, who feels the same way. And I just want to give that message that we're all in this together, and we're going to support each other, and we're going to make this world the most amazing place that works for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, if it was the case that I felt that I was supposed to be doing this myself on my own, it'd be ridiculous. But the fact that there are many, 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 many of us out there, all with our unique talents and gifts and strengths and hang-ups and everything that makes us special and unique, it's just wow.
Mm-hmm. And you know what I was thinking about when he was giving some of the answer about everyone being equal in every relationship, being
Yeah.
equally effective. I was thinking about the fact that all of our lives, all of our relationships, every part of us has contributed to this, to us now, to what's happening now, and how we are in this position that we're in, or in this location or time that we're participating in. And so it all fit in very well, in the fact that it's all equally, because it's all adding to what we actually are. And
yeah, very much, Sophia. This has allowed me, it was a few months ago, allowed me to detach myself from this judgmental stuff, the polarity, because I had that massive realization that I can continue going through life feeling a victim and how awful it all was,
right.
or I can flip everything and say, everything that I mastered, I'm still alive. Look at me.
Right.
And look at the things that I've taken away from all of the challenges that were put in front of my face and around me. And this has made me who I am. And actually, I'm a very resourceful person, So that that had really made it very easy for me, as I was able to see my life with the detachment and just look at everything that happened with a neutral look on it, erring towards the positive. It's a huge, it's very liberating if you can manage to look at your life and feel like that.
And it's a gentle, easy, gentle stroll into oneness to do that.
Yes.
It is, right? I mean, you just do it with the people around you. We all have that. We all have relationships that were difficult or whatever, that we have distaste in our hearts because of, in our minds. And we can go, wait a minute. And we start looking at it all. Everything starts to look different.
Yes.
Everyone starts to look different.
Well said.
Yeah. And that's where we're going, you know, that one part in the answer for you, which was just so beautiful, about eyes of I'm gonna see if I can find it. Looking out with eyes of pure love, eyes of acceptance, eyes of agape. I don't know what the words were. I can't find it in the
Yes.
these
Yeah.
are the eyes. He said, once you do, you'll find yourself looking out with love's eyes only. These are the eyes of an ascended one, the eyes of a master. And he starts that paragraph by talking about self-acceptance.
Yeah.
You know, we have to start there.
Yes. Yeah.
So
I'm getting better every minute. every now minute.
every now minute. That's great. Okay. Is there anything else you want to say or ask or talk about before I close this out
I think
for the recording?
that was just perfect, Sophia. And there's loads to mull over and digest. And the most exciting thing is it's going to help me be even better at what I'm going to be doing. So thank you. Thank you so, so much.
You're welcome. I'm so glad that it helped.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to say to everyone listening that we're going to take a break from the series for the next 6 or 7 weeks until September. I need to complete a book with one. It's called Drops of Light. And I'm finding myself overcommitted maybe to complete it all. And the book needs to be out by, or it's planned to be out by September. So I'm going to take a break from the series. You can still write questions in the blog, and I still have the questions that have not been answered, and we'll just pick up right along. I expect it will be about 6 or 7 weeks from now that I'll choose another question. And we'll start there again with number 18. And so thanks everyone. Thank you for your question and for contributing your life and your interests and your conversation to the journey for us all. And lots of love and light to everybody listening. And we will see you in about a month and a half.
From
Love
me
you.
too. Thank you, Sophia, and love and light to everyone listening from me too. This is going to be so amazingly brilliant, folks. It really is. Whoa.
Yes, yes. Okay, good way to end.